Good evening, folks, and we're trying again to do this little recording for us. Lauren and myself, we're still learning, but hopefully we're getting there. But we want to turn just for a little moment to the book of the Revelation and look at the church of Sardis and bring in a wee word of testimony, another wee part of my own testimony. But in the book of the Revelation, John the Apostle, who was the beloved disciple, inspired by God, he wrote 7 letters to the different churches. And some of these letters contained messages of encouragement and commendation, but they also included messages of condemnation. Here in Revelation chapter 3 and the verse 1, when John wrote to the church that was in Sardis, we read these words, "I know thy works, that thou hast a name, that thou livest, and art dead." Basically, the church in Sardis was going through the motions and all the rituals of the church and going through the motions of religiosity. But when God looked into the church, it was spiritually dead. There was no spiritual life in it at all. Rather, there was nothing, only formality and ritualism and religiosity. And things were not what they seemed to be, and the people were not what they pretended to be. But I think of my own life. I was saved when I was about 10 or 11 years of age. I don't remember the date, but you don't need to remember your date of birth to know that you are alive. You have that witness within yourself, the scripture says. But at that time I was still going to the children's meetings, and then after that went to the youth fellowship, and then was still attending Sunday school and all the rest. But you outgrow these meetings and you eventually leave them. And at that time, as a family, we belonged to a church that they didn't want the gospel and they didn't hear the gospel. And the gospel then, therefore, wasn't preached. But eventually, I stopped going to any services or any meetings really at all. And to be honest, we were too busy on the farm to go anywhere. And so eventually, I got cold in heart, grew cold spiritually, and backslidden in heart. Maybe not in life, but backslidden in heart. I never drank, and I never smoked, and I never cursed, but neither was I reading the Bible, or I wasn't praying or anything like that at all. I was too busy farming and therefore spiritually cold. We did go out to what would have been called Christian socials at that time, and we did have some good Christian friends, but inwardly I was spiritually cold and I was empty. Anyhow, one night we were invited to go to Bethany Free Presbyterian Church. I was about 19 years of age. It was the first time I was ever in a Free Presbyterian church. But we went along to hear the testimony of a man by the name of Mike Christensen. He was an American rodeo champion. As I said, I was about 19, and that night the Lord spoke to me, and I asked the Lord to come back into my life again. As I sat there in the back row of the gallery with some of my brothers, that night the Lord did. He came back into my life, and I had peace again. After that, I still had many lessons to learn about a surrendered life, but that night the Lord restored me. But I wonder this evening, is that the state that you're in? You're like the church that was in Sardis, and you were like myself. Before this lockdown, you were so busy that you actually lost out with God. And this evening, as I say, you're like the church in Sardis back then, and even as I was. Thou hast a name, that thou livest, and art dead. You're empty inside. You seem content on the outside, but you're empty on the inside. If so, friend, that's no way to live. You come back to the Lord again. Ask him to forgive you for your sin and your backsliding. Ask him to restore unto you the joy of thy salvation and to give you that peace of heart and of mind. Do it this evening, friend. No point in struggling on with that emptiness, but ask the Lord to come in and to fill that emptiness that there is in your life. God bless you, and thank you again for listening. We trust that tomorrow evening we'll be able to bring you another message.